Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Leasing Highway podcast, a podcast focused on sharing the heartbeat, passions, and voices of the industry. And just want to thank everybody again or thank the Apartment Association of Metro Denver again for helping us produce this and put this on and share voices like we have today. My name is Karen Gladney, and I'm one of your hosts.
And I'm Ian Andrews, your other host, and today we're super excited to be joined by Tony Hunt, a managing director of Cushman Wakefield. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, Tony. I'll pass it to you to give everyone a little bit of background about yourself and share your story.
Sure. No, well, first of all, thank you for the invite. Really happy and stoked to be here with you guys. Like I told you, I think this show is really great to get different voices on, different opinions on what's going on in the industry. So I'm super happy to be a part of this and to share my view of what I think is going on in the industry. But thanks for that great introduction. Like you said, I'm Tony Hunt, managing director at Cushman and Wakefield. But I've been in the industry roughly about 23 years, and I've taken kind of a non-traditional route to my position here. I started way back. I'm originally from the Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. So my real estate career actually started more on the hospitality side, where I was renting luxury villas in the Caribbean. So specifically St. Martin, St. John, St. Thomas, the British Virgin Islands. And I went from there. My route moved over to more traditional hotel, and from hotel to corporate housing, and from corporate housing into multifamily. And that's kind of how I landed here. But it's definitely not the route that I had planned. I've learned a lot along the way, and I've met some really great people, and hopefully I've impacted in a positive way the lives of my residents and employees. So it's been a good ride.
That's incredible, Tony. I had no idea that you started in the Virgin Islands. Why leave that?
I think, you guys obviously didn't screen correctly, because I'm obviously insane that I would leave, nature's paradise to work in such exciting markets like, Williston, North Dakota, or, or the desert in Las Vegas. I think, growing up in the Virgin Islands, I think it's like anything else. If you have curly hair, you want straight hair. If you're, you just want what you don't have. So I decided I wanted to be in markets that were at least tropical. So thus I'm here in Denver in the mountains. And and it looks like I just kind of seek out opportunities that are most different from my background and home.
Yeah, who needs crystal clear blue waters?
Yeah, it's overrated. All
Well,
those
hey, I know for you, Tony, you've gotten the opportunity to work with several different companies, gone through a recent transition. What are some of the differences and similarities that you've seen in the different markets that you've been in? Like you said, Williston, North Dakota, and you've been in Las Vegas, you've been in Denver. Talk about the differences and similarities in those markets a little bit.
I think the way people approach work is different in each different market. I think there are markets that have a higher focus on family. I noticed that, when I was working, like I said, in the North Dakota market, and I've noticed, it's funny. They have more things that are similar than are different. Mm-hmm. And I find that, even though, at the end of the day, we're all kind of managing and renting these boxes that have windows and doors, the markets themselves, I think, the fundamentals of what they focus on, the resident experience, the work experience, most markets are, pretty similar in that respect. I think there's some nuances to cultural differences and social events that, but generally speaking, there's definitely more in common with each other than that there are differences.
Yeah, I think that's interesting when you say that, like North Dakota, for instance, that there's a focus on family, or you feel a little bit heavier emphasis on family. How did you see that shine through? I think that's really neat.
Well, I think it, a lot of people work for a living. Some people live to work. I think they get it right in the sense of, when it's time to shut down, when it's time to, to go to that barn fire, or it's time to, have a cookout. They're able to kind of just shut it down. And I find, like, in more metropolitan markets, that's harder to do. The line between work and home is blurred. And I think, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at the pandemic, I think, that line has been really blurred no matter what market you're in now, with the advent of work from home, and, always being on, basically, and always accessible. So
Yeah.
I hope we don't lose, that clear distinction between work-life balance.
Yeah, absolutely. What about taking really kind of that same question and posing it towards some of the different companies you've worked for? I mean, you've had experience in a lot of different markets, but also in several different organizations. And what are some of those similarities and differences within each of the organizations that you've worked with?
I think I kind of separate them into two categories, because I've had the opportunity to work for both private and publicly traded organizations. And I will tell you, and I've worked in both owner managed and third party. And I will tell you, probably the biggest difference is, clarity of direction. Seems to be, when you own and manage your own properties, it's a lot easier for everyone to row in the same direction. When you're a third party platform, where you've got different concerns, different interests, different hold periods, different, investment strategies, possibly different asset managers, it really becomes difficult to have a singular message. And I think that's the role that I play, and the role that our RPMs and all the leadership roles really, I applaud them, because they really have to keep that North Star focus. And as long as you're moving towards that ultimate goal, I think, all the companies progress in that way. The other difference is just in terms of pure resources. Some of the larger firms that I've worked with, it was great in the sense that, I could walk down the hall and talk to my marketing expert on digital, social media, SEO. And some of the smaller deals, I was that person, or I was the trainer. So it gave me an opportunity to wear a different hat. Not well, but at least I have now a fond respect and love for all of the ancillary support, that we get. Now that I'm, fortunate enough to have the resources that I have, I really respect what they do, because I understand how difficult and how ever changing, and how, they are truly experts in their particular field. So I think, there are advantages to both the big and small, advantages both to publicly traded and privately held, organizations. But again, I think the ones that I have experienced that have done really well are the ones that, no matter how all those differences are, if they keep their focus on the people first. And I know that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but I've had the privilege to see and work with companies that do it well, and some that don't do it as well. And I can see on the bottom line the effects, everything from turnover and productivity and effective and efficiencies, being lost, if those companies don't have that focus on people first.
I think you make a good point there. While you hear it a lot, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has necessarily mastered. Well, none of us, I think, have mastered it, but just really making sure to make people a primary focus. It does have a big difference and a big impact, and you see it ripple through.
And you mentioned something that is absolutely true. None of us is perfect at managing people. We're hardly perfect at managing our own emotions and our own reactions to things, but that's okay. That's what this journey and this human experience is about. And I think, as long as you are open to just being a little bit better than you were yesterday, I think that's the focus. We have I've coined this thing to, I just want to suck less. Just suck less each day. If you can accomplish that, you're winning in my book.
That's great. That's a good tagline.
We should print t-shirts. Suck less.
Hey, so at the leadership retreat that we were on last week for the local apartment association here, we talked a lot about humanizing our industry because it really is this unknown industry, and especially all the opportunities that there are within our industry. What are some of your thoughts around sharing those opportunities, sharing those the people in our industry, and with those out there that don't know about us?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a false premise to start with humanizing our industry, because I don't think there's an industry that is more human than, I mean, and more intimate
Sure.
than managing where people actually live. I mean, we're managing spaces that people are bringing, their child home for their first time. People are, going through a divorce or downsizing, empty nests. So the opportunities to be human are plentiful. Now, where I do agree is I don't think we do a great job of um, exporting that message to the general public, the public at large, where opportunities like you said that exist in multifamily don't exist in any other industry. Like I told you before, I worked in hospitality. I've worked in retail for a while, and there really isn't a lot of upward mobility where you can really achieve success for your family and yourself. Um, than what we see available in the multifamily industry. And I think, one of the things that we fail to realize is we just think it's about the building and managing, behind the gates. But we have a huge and profound effect when you think of our um, the leverage that this industry kind of has over, when you look at our vendor partners, and we kind of broaden the aperture a little bit, and we see all the industry that we affect, from construction to marketing to accounting to, you name it. I mean, there isn't really an industry that the apartment industry doesn't touch to some extent. So, yeah, I think it's less about humanizing and more about advertising how human we really are.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, and it's just I think we lose sight of the fact that how much we're impacting people on a day to day basis, and how these are people's homes. This is where they're spending the majority of their time, and it just has such a huge impact on both people in the industry and the people living in the buildings. And so, really love what you said there. Yeah, want to give you a question about kind of where the industry is going in the future. But right before we do that, let's take a quick break here, and we'll be back on the other side.
Welcome to your beautiful new apartment home here at Gables Point 14. As you can see, we're featuring this beautiful one-bedroom den.
Introducing Remote Lock Universal Access Control. Remote Lock lets you manage any lock, from smart locks to hardwired access control systems, securing every door from the main entrance to the rooftop patio. And you get to choose from the best top-of-the-line smart locks out there, from brands like Yale, Schlage, Kwikset, August, Mercury, and many more. Now you can configure and add access at the push of a button, and set up customized schedules for each and every user, all within a matter of minutes. It even works with property management and booking software like Airbnb, Guesty, Entrata, RealPage, and more. With Remote Lock, you'll finally have a future-proof solution that controls all your properties around the world from a single, easy-to-use platform. Let Remote Lock be the last access control partner you'll ever need.
Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, so Tony, excited to hear kind of what really as we look ahead into the next year or so. What are some of the things you expect we'll see in the industry?
I think the next year again is going to be tough, especially for those that have a hard time managing change. The last 2 years, we've seen how resilient our industry has been in the response to COVID. Everything from safety protocols to how we collect rents and how we market and lease apartments. And I think that trend is just going to continue at an exponential rate, where we're going to see technology play a bigger and bigger role in our industry. And we talked in the last segment a little bit about how humanizing how to humanize our industry, but we're also seeing a huge pull to have less humans working through the use of technology. I think even one of the sponsors here is a technology-based solution to opening and closing access doors, and how we can extrapolate that to self-guided tours, and what does that mean to the on-site leasing consultant. I think those we're going to be continue to be pressed to do more with less. I think this industry, just like every other industry, is not immune to the macroeconomic situation, as we see inflation increase, as we see supply chain issues affect industries. It's affecting us as well, and we're going to be asked by our ownership groups to be creative and find solutions that are going to help NOI and help the bottom line. And I think a lot of that we're getting a lot of help from the lift of rents. Inflation is also helping lift rents, but on the other side, it's also lifting our expenses. So I think there's going to be a renewed focus on looking with very scrupulous eyes on expenses and trying to integrate technology where we can to increase efficiency and cut costs.
Yeah, really well said, and it's so true. What we've gone through, and I agree with what's ahead. Lots of continued change for sure. Talk a little bit about a time in your career, Tony, which it's really neat to think about all you've seen and gotten to do, when you learned the most, and really what the takeaways were from that.
Honestly, we keep talking about North Dakota, but that for me was kind of a life-changing experience. First of all, the folks that thought it was a good idea to get the guy from the Caribbean to manage in the frozen tundra, I don't know what they were smoking, but to my benefit, it ended up working really well. And what I did learn, what I found to be very true, and the lesson that I took from that is, we supported the North Dakota market with a band of very brave, entrepreneurial, and a pioneering spirit group of individuals from Denver that moved to North Dakota. And we basically went from 0 to 3,000 units overnight. And it was staffed primarily by, expats from the Colorado market. But what I found is that team became really tight because they had to depend on each other. They didn't really know. They didn't really have, matter of fact, we started the first apartment association in Williston. There was no, support from a vendor partnership as well. So we had to create a lot of these things from scratch, and taking some of the lessons we've learned in larger metropolitan markets, and bringing some of those lessons, and then also forgetting a lot of the things that we've learned, and starting and seeing the beauty, like I was talking about, that work-life balance. And even though it's hard to think about that when you're, our clientele mainly was the wildcatters that were coming in to extract oil. And it was funny that we all became energy experts, as well as industry apartment experts. So we would be looking at what the price of crude oil is, and we would be able to determine, just based on that fact, whether or not it's going to be a great leasing season, because Hess and Schlumberger will be hiring if oil is over $50 a barrel. So we became kind of energy experts as well. So I just think overall, learning how to build and develop and minus 20 degrees where they're bringing jet engines in to, heat the foundation, and, learning for me, I think just because it was just so different from my experience so far. And I learned so much, and I learned how to be creative and how to, find solutions where there really wasn't a clear answer on how to do things. So I think, I learned a lot from the team that went up there, but I learned a lot about how important that culture that we built was, and that we were depending on each other, and how much fun it can be. Also, I think we forget about how much fun this industry can be, and that was a good reminder.
Yeah, how cool too to just be somewhere so completely different, and just see how learning about these this new environment and new industry can relate so much to a completely different industry, and just really cool experience there.
No, absolutely. We basically saw a town rise out of the dirt.
Yeah,
There was nothing there prior to that big boom of housing development. So it was great to watch a town develop and be a part of that in a positive way.
Yeah, no, well, that's amazing. Now, curious too, just as an industry leader, what are some of your passion points that you have?
Well, I think we've kind of touched on it all, through this talk. I mean,
yeah,
one of the great advantages was talking about, some of the differences and similarities between third party and owner managed. I think with third party, especially because we don't own buildings, we don't have physical assets. All we have is our people. And for me, again, that servant leadership, and that's the passion point. And watching people progress in their career is my biggest high. I've watched people like myself. I started as a groundskeeper and I moved up, and I've watched that progression and have been able to coach and counsel and promote and assist with that growth. I think that for me has been the most rewarding, and the thing that gets me up in the morning, and someone said about passion, that if you've got a passion for like painting, it's because you like it, or you have a passion for music because you really you love it. I think that's superficially that's what we all think, but I think passion also is liking something so much that you come back even when it's tough. When you have a passion for things, you do it even when it sucks to do it, and it's really hard. But if you have a passion for it, that's the thing that gives you the power to kind of power through it and do it, because it really speaks to who you are.
For sure. And there's always going to be those rough days, right? I think that's really neat, Tony. I didn't know either that you had started as a groundskeeper. It does just highlight from groundskeeper to managing director. I mean, that talk about opportunity and seizing it and going after that. That's incredible.
And that opportunity exists for everyone.
Yeah.
I really do think so.
Yeah. Well, let's take one more quick break, and we come back. We'll dive into a few personal questions just to get Tony on his human side a little bit more when we come back. Welcome back. All right, so we've had a bunch of industry questions. We would love for you to share a fun fact about yourself, and it can't be the Virgin Islands now. It's got to be something new, because that's a fun fact. Oh my word! But share a fun fact.
Honestly, I think that it is Virgin Islands related, though. I apologize. But,
No.
yeah. I'm a huge fan of scuba diving. I'm certified trainer, actually. So again, I find it funny that I continue to work in these markets that have no ocean. Denver and Las Vegas and North Dakota really aren't known for, you know, lush coral and scuba. But yeah, no, I really enjoy, ever since I was born, my mom said I was a fish basically. And I think at one point I was going to be the next Jacques Cousteau. That was my, you know, my passion. Anytime I'm in the water, I'm happy. So.
Awesome. So another personal one here from growing up in the Virgin Islands. What did you want to be when you grow up?
Well, yeah. No, I mean, I think I just said it basically. I do want to be a marine biologist. No, actually, when I think I was 3 years old, I said to my mom, I want to be a managing director for a major firm. No one ever lists property management, and I think that's going to be, you know, my job is to go to schools and let kids know that this really can be an exciting career. And but no, honestly, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and then I wanted to be, as I grew up and I learned about money, I wanted to become a lawyer, and I was actually on my way to becoming a greedy K Street lobbyist lawyer. But God had other plans for me, and I had to move back home, and I changed my major from pre-law to business, and that's when I made the switch and got on the management side of property management.
Wow. Talk about who have been some of your influencers and mentors along the way, Tony.
You know, my greatest influence, honestly, is you know, my dad. I would say, you know, my dad came from the French island of Saint Martin. He had a third grade education. Basically, he dropped out of school, worked odd jobs, became a brick mason, and then a bartender. And I watched what he did, and he built. I should say that my real estate career actually started with him, because he built quite a portfolio of, you know, private villas that he was able to own and manage. And I just watched what he did with little education, with very little resources. Didn't even speak English when he first moved to the Virgin Islands. He only spoke French patois, and seeing what he was able to create is really inspiring. It's also kind of humbling, because I think at my age, his portfolio was a lot larger than mine, and I had all, you know, he afforded me all the trappings of a good life and great education, but you know, he really did an amazing job of what he had. So my dad for sure is that inspiration. He's no longer with us, but he still inspires me.
That's awesome. Well, I know we're running low on time here, so I want to get to our last walk-off question here that we ask everyone, which is, what advice would you give to somebody just starting out in the industry?
Oh, wow. Just be open, and also I would say network as much as you can. Because like I said, you know, this business touches so many areas. Always be willing to volunteer for extra assignments. Always add value to every interaction you have. Always come to it asking, how can I help this person? How can I help this resident? How can I help this vendor? You know, through this process. I think if you have that focus, you strip away your ego, and you really put in place, you know, the needs of others, you will go very far.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Tony. It's been a pleasure having you today.
Pleasure was mine. You guys, I love this theme. You know, I'm waiting for the blooper reel. So
yeah. Exactly.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's been an honor. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's mine. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.